Guilty Gear Strive is widely known as one of the most impressive 3D anime-style games ever made. As a professional animator who specializes in 3D anime, I want to see exactly why it's so good. And we're gonna do that by trying to figure out which character in Guilty Gear Strive has the best animation. This is gonna be impossible. Oh. Whoa! Every single one of these frames is gorgeous, but I kind of wish the anticipation was a little stronger, actually. This hand kind of gets overblown a little bit, so you can't really see its distance anymore. It kind of comes close to the camera a little too early for my tastes. Like right now, the hand is like here, right? So it's already like reaching towards camera. This would feel better to me, personally, just because it would have a bit more anticipation and it would feel stronger. By the way, let's talk about the frame rate real quick. Background is in full 60 FPS and the character is on ones. So this character is actually parented to the camera. So even though the camera is moving, the character is moving with the camera exactly. And they do it seamlessly. So it's beautiful and it works beautifully. I imagine this is hard to do, but it would have been really cool if they actually took this moment to do a wipe, but not just cover his face, but rather have the shadowed version of his face here of like the demon form. So now you have actually like a really cool transition where the clarity doesn't get lost at all. And then the transition here would be a lot smoother. Soul Bad Guy, honestly, because there's some things that could be better, I think he's like a B. B for bad guy. Whoa! So all the frames here, they feel like they are kind of jittery, and I don't mean the frame rate, but what I mean is the arcs. So the arcs in particular here, it's got this 2D imperfection to it, mixed with the detail that is just absolutely gorgeous. Right here, there's this morphing effect where the head kind of goes this way, and then it'll kind of go like this. It's almost like backtracking, like, oh, I kind of went too far. Like right here, there's like a slight head shake. You guys see that? And then the eye like changes shape there. It comes back. It just kind of gives this wobble to the head shape, and it just looks so gorgeously imperfect. Not to mention, of course, the hair animation is gorgeous, which is all done by hand as well, as far as I know. Bro. Holy shit. This is so good for a lot of reasons. The subtlety of his head movement here is what adds so much to it. Just such a subtle reaction to like the pain and the effects and everything. He's got like the squint, he's got the slight head downwards, all these things where he's just micro moving his way through this ultimate, and that makes all the difference. And the reason, again, is because it mimics this Sakuga style animation. Sakuga being, of course, 2D hand-drawn animation that's very high quality. And they are doing these micro movements because in 2D, doing micro movements is extremely expensive. So it's a very telltale sign of like a high budget shot, essentially. And because it's in 3D, they're able to do it much more easily, and they take advantage of that really well, which I love about this style. It's very similar to what we kind of strive for in our studio, Dylan Goo Studios, to get that high quality kind of 2D look that's only possible when you have 3D. Kai, I think honestly, is probably an S because it is so high quality feeling, despite the fact that it's not hand drawn. It looks like just a really high quality hand drawn animation, which is insane. Jacko! Oh my god. The arcs on this one is so good. Look at how the chain just goes in front of the camera here, and then it gets disconnected in the corner and then continues. There's also extra action lines here for the effects to really drive that home. But this composition is so anime. You have this here, you have like the other one over here, like the line of action is over here. This right here is just a great pose in general. But what I'm most curious about actually is this face rig. This face rig is gorgeous. I think it's so simple. It's a jack-o'-lantern, but they're able to get so much like emotion out of the shapes of the eyes and stuff and the shape of the mouth. There's like this unevenness here, which is definitely rigged. The transformation of the eye shape is so fluid. I assume they have like a pretty robust rig around the eye shape, but they also have like really, really good shadows set up for the inside of the eyes and stuff, which I assume is like 3D. It is such a great combination of things. She also blinks. She changes shape entirely. And then look at this. Oh man, what a great acting choice. I think she's really, really good. I don't think she's an S. I think she's got some solid arcs, some really strong anticipation, which I love, but I wouldn't say that she's like beyond expectations of like what you can possibly do with this style. I would put her at an A. She's solid. Excuse me? This is insane. This silhouette misdirection is just gorgeous. And then there's another one, which obviously is looking very sexy. We have a very anime screen wipe. They're doing all these things that sell the style so well because they're trying to mimic anime, and it works really, really well. I think specifically the reason why this falls a little flat in my eyes is because it doesn't connect with the attack animation at the end as well as I would like. But I will say that the momentum of the characters going into each transition from one character pose to another is really, really smooth. This momentum goes this way. She spins and she goes this way. Pretty soon afterwards, we we see this. Immediately goes the other way. And not only that, but she spins this way. So there's this really, really smooth pattern arc that goes basically in an infinity pattern, which is beautiful. And then it goes to this part, which I wish was a little bit clearer and like stayed there for a little longer maybe, and then transition to the attack. But that's a gripe that might be just gameplay specific. Oh man, I'd probably put her in B, and then I'd probably put bad guy in C. Yo! Woo! Oh! That's what I'm talking about, dude. This attack here with the weapon going in front of camera for a second builds so much great anticipation for the attack coming up. It's such a well-shaped weapon for this. I'm like 90% sure they tweaked the shape of this thing for each frame to exaggerate the shape and silhouette of the weapon. It paid off for sure. And then look at the anticipation here. Right in front of camera, this forced perspective with the hand. Gorgeous. Anticipates a closer face. And it happens. Look at that. This is such good anticipation combined with all the elements Guilty Gear already does right. I do kind of wish that they held this pose just for a couple more frames, but that's okay. S tier, S tier. Dude, what? Look at how the wings change their shape here as she moves. The spin here, perfectly accentuated with these arcs that really exaggerate her momentum. And then that builds up all the way up to here. But they don't neglect the fact that they still want this kind of halo around her body, which they're building up in the previous few frames. They force the wings into the screen, coil it up as much as physically possible, which is such great anticipation. And then it goes upwards across the screen in these perfect diagonal lines here. These lines of actions here are super, super strong. And then it all wraps up into the same diagonal lines, but as an end result. The line of action is just consistent. Such great payoff for such a gorgeous animation. I love it. And it looks like, based on what I saw, the hair transformation is actually pretty simple. I think it's just a model swap. So she does this and covers it, and then yeah, it just appears. But they animate this hair really well. The reason why it looks so smooth is because this wing just appears, but this looks like it transforms into the wing. It's like a very subtle, tricky trick where they take the silhouette of this guy and blend it into like the silhouette of the wing in the previous frame. So it looks like she sort of like unfurls them. It's such a smart move. From a 3D animation perspective, they really dodged the bullet there because it's really hard to do morphing transformation stuff. This is just smooth as hell. Millions Ness. What? Oh. That's so cool. So far, he's the most unique one, and I'm going to talk about why. In his cinematic, they don't show the face at all. They show just the hand. And what they have on the hand is actually this really, really great snappiness at the end that emphasizes so much power yet to come. Okay, whoever animated this, I'm pretty sure knows Kendo or is familiar with Kendo, because right here, this grip is really, really strong. You have a lot of distance between the hands, which allows for a good pivot and a strong grip. And then right here, you can see the arms actually stay relatively stable, while most of the swing comes from the hips, which is what you want in Kendo. And then let's talk about this. This is cool. This is the first time that they've done something like this where they just sort of like replace the whole screen with like a texture, and they freeze everybody and they give like a slight filter of parchment paper on top of all the characters. Is that not the coolest thing in the world? God, that's so good. Honestly, I'm gonna put him in a solid A. I want to put him in S, but it just wouldn't be fair. Oh, man, that was something else. Probably my favorite one so far. His tailcoat spins around him and settles. That alone already, combined with the wind, gives him such a dynamic entry to this cinematic. And look at all these action lines. Where are they going? The same direction, baby. Let's go. And this sheathing animation right here, I just got to give extra credit for. It's so stylish, bro. Look how much they're exaggerating and breaking his shoulder here. That's such great anticipation there. His shoulder is being pulled into the other room just for the sheathing animation. And then as soon as he sheaths, shoulder's back to normal. Johnny, where are you? Oh, that's so cute. Such a great focus on the face. So much movement in the eyes and in the hair that it just feels like highly animated, and it's just gorgeous. I kind of wish they stayed on the whale a little bit longer so I could see the whale coming towards camera. Like, imagine if everything was the same, but then you got a couple of frames to appreciate this whale coming towards camera and engulfing it before it switches. She's an A. Because while she does have the same qualities as Kai, I don't think she has quite enough interest to the movement itself compared to Kai to rank an S. She's really, really solid, but nothing particularly interesting happens with the animation. This is so hard, man. They're all so good. What? So, dude, they're doing this thing here, which I haven't seen them do with any other character yet, which is crazy. They have high contrast shadows on him that seem like they're drawn on. So you can see already there's this like shadowy silhouette on him, which is from like the effect of the actual attack. But then look at this. I'm pretty sure they're doing either some effect or some manual overlay of some like textures or something, where you can kind of get this feeling that there's a light being projected from his hand. And it's adding so much contrast to his face. It looks so good. And the heightened contrast adds to the animation. The arcs here are really, really good. So you can see the line of action. Where's the line of action? one directly going bottom left-hand corner. Where's this going? Bottom left-hand corner, right in front of camera. Got that high focal length, forced perspective. Really good anticipation on the shoulder. Is this not just like perfect? Like, I don't know what else to say about this animation. It's already so good. Also, look at how his hair flips upwards here. This right here is another form of building anticipation. How creative is that, guys? Zato, you're an S. Look at this. Forced perspective. Absolutely gorgeous focal length here. She doesn't have wings here. So the wings form in this line of action. So you have a really good momentum pulling her back this way. And then the wings form. And she has this bit of recovery where she comes back down, right? Along the same axis. But it doesn't stop there. That right there is pulling her back up in a way that's like almost kind of like splitting her apart. Like this side is pulling her this way. This side is pulling her this way. And she's like overall going upwards. Which basically concludes with an arc that goes this way, like this way. All really, really smoothly. In a way that feels like supernatural, which is what they're going for, and really, really natural at the same time, which is like, what? And then she covers it, which builds even more tension and more anticipation, gives her a character moment with her face close up, and then a wing reveal, and then a fade out, which of course transitions it really well to the gameplay, which I personally like a lot. And we're not even talking about the effects, okay? The effects are gorgeous. Oh, that face, bro. I gotta take a look at that again. So much detail in the face and the hair. It's just absolutely gorgeous. But on top of that, you get this. This frame right here hypnotizes you. It's so cool. They really just have these eyes open like really, really wide just for a split second. Really gets your attention. And then he looks like he never did it. And it makes you like second guess yourself. Oh, it's such a smart thing to do. You barely notice it. There's not enough time for you to really notice it, but subconsciously you register that he like stares into your soul for like a second. The composition is so good too, guys. I mean, look at the framing on this guy. Ah! What am I supposed to say? He's so good. What a great emotional moment here. The eyes just staring at her. The framing here is gorgeous. And then you see just a split second of panic on her face. It's kind of this interesting like, oh, like I'm kind of concealing the fact that I'm kind of afraid of you. What a great character moment there. And then this guy, the arcs on this model and the rig is just amazing. And so they get to play around with it a lot. This arc right here plays perfectly into the attack because it looks like his neck is being pushed back by the beam. And then that actually gives the perfect build-up anticipation arc to the shift over to this side. It's such a great character moment too because it just shows that he's like kind of losing control. Take a look at just a slight bit of sadness in her face here too. So she's panicking, and then she's sort of like, oh, I'm resigning myself to the situation. This is what my brother is now. God, isn't that good? This right here is only one frame at the end of the cinematic, and it just registers so well as a character beat. It just registers so well as a character beat. Holy shit! Dude, the animation on this is gorgeous. They're doing this really, really high fidelity Sakuga style animation with the face, with the hair, with the hands. The arcs here are absolutely gorgeous. There's this like slight jitteriness to the arc as she comes down here. And that gives such a high quality hand animated feeling to it. Because it is hand animated, of course, because it's pose by pose. Every single pose is done by hand. No interpolation is done. I know that much for sure in terms of how they made Guilty Gear. Not to mention the staging here where they have the guns surround her just looks like a stage. It looks so much like a stage that it just feels like you're transitioning into like this music video, and that is exactly what they're going for. I absolutely love it. What a surprise! An S. Okay, we're doing an SS. Who's an SS? Johnny, Eno, Deadman. I mean, Bedman. Chains, baby, let's go, dude. Chain animations are so satisfying in anime because they just exaggerate the hell out of them. Like the length, that makes no sense, and I'm just like, yes, give me infinite chains. I need them. This right here just goes on forever. I love it when anime does this. It just feels like it goes on forever and ever, and the thing in the back like doesn't move at all. So the fact that this is here for so early and then just like keeps going, they could have had it disappear much earlier. They didn't, and that really builds a lot of stuff. Look at how great his face animation is, by the way. Notice how it's completely asymmetrical. They're not pulling any punches here. They're just going like, we're gonna show a close-up of the face. We're gonna give this amazingly detailed animation where we just draw, quote unquote, the eyes and like the nose and the mouth in a way that is like slightly different every single frame, giving that imperfect 2D look. I would put him in an A, but the chains give me feelings. And so he goes into an S. Faust! Oh my my god. I knew I was in for something with Faust because he's just the most unique character. He's so funny. But like, holy shit, that was hilarious. This right here, super comedic, super snappy poses. They even have action lines or smear frames here. So like right here, look how strong that pose is. You see the line of action is being drawn with his arm. Just that alone makes this pose feel super clear, super strong. And they didn't do anything special. They just drew the line of action with his arm. And then he just yanks his chair, leading with his back. And then here, look how much they bent his forearm here for that extra comedy. And this like right here, the eye smear, anticipating the next frames. Oh, the action lines, the smear frames. Yes, do it. This part, dude, is so good. Oh my god, look at every one of these frames. This could be in Fooly Cooly. It's so much contrast in the poses, so much contrast in the silhouettes. So the fact that he has like this stethoscope complementing his actions, this pushes back, this pushes forward. He's lunging. He's got this really over-exaggerated run. It's absolutely gorgeous. And then you go to the next few poses. Now look how short his neck is. Look how short that is. And then look at that. Really pushing the stethoscope up in a way that's believable. It feels like physics, but it's not. And then his head is just like totally inside his body. It's just 3 poses and it feels so good. This is just a testament to how like 2D animators are able to get so much out of so little. And that philosophy translating to 3D animation in this case, I feel like it's never been done before to this level of quality. Everybody knows Guilty Gear is just one of the best examples of this. And I strongly believe it's because all of their 3D animators have a foundational knowledge in how to do 2D animation. I want to know how they did this because this is hilarious and it's gorgeous. The perfect morph from this like high fidelity model into this hilarious face. God, it's so good. There's no way. I can't. What? What? How did they do that? What? This for sure is 2D animated. There's no way they did this in 3D because that would absolutely blow my mind. Wait, I see polygons. What? You're telling me this is 3D? Where are they getting all this geometry from? I can't believe that's 3D. That's insane. They had to have done the shading surely like by hand somehow because the highlights there are too perfect. They're just so good. And then the shading accentuates the shape like perfectly without being like too detailed. So they have like these shadows that are anticipating the opening of the mouth, which is just gorgeous, by the way. How to do that in 3D, I'm not sure. It's almost like they have to like draw in 3D with like meshes in order to get this level of fidelity. And they're definitely like replacing meshes frame by frame, but I'm just like, where are they getting all this geometry? I don't know how they did it, dude. It's just, oh my god, that's amazing. Other than that though, you also have this gorgeous facial animation and like, just look at these arcs. At this point, like, does that even matter? Hey guys, look at these cool arcs. Wow. Yes, this guy's normal. Look at that snappy grip, guys. He's up here, he's up here, he's down there. That's a very snappy grip. So snapping into this grip pose gives you such a strong anticipation because the grip is so strong that it just ends up psychologically preparing us for like a powerful attack, which is wonderful. But like, dude, like the arcs on this is crazy. I don't think this pole was straight even once. Just curved the whole time. That's crazy. I'm gonna be honest, I kind of wish they curved the pole the other way for like a second. Like during the grip pose, I kind of wish they did like just for a split second, just going like this. If they just bananaed this guy like right here, and then as he pulls it up here, it'll feel so much stronger now that the flag is curved as a new shape rather than the exaggeration of an existing one. But he's good. He's a B. Oh man, the arcs on this are absolutely gorgeous. First of all, the smear frames, absolutely essential here. Completely replaces the sword with the smear frames, by the way. No sword anymore. Sword's gone. You guys know what the lines of action are doing? Overlapping, baby. They went this way in the first sword, went this way in the second sword. When you have these overlapping lines of actions, they build on top of each other and double up the anticipation, which is so good. So like all the way up to here, it's just such a great buildup. And then the zoom up, oh, what a great buildup as well. What's interesting is like his face is not nearly as animated as like Mei's and Kai's. So like their faces had this like great Sakuga feel. His feels a bit more Dragon Ball Z, which is like a bit more stiff, right? Because Dragon Ball Z was on like more limited frames. And so it feels very 2D, but it's not quite as Sakuga as the other ones. So because his face is more stiff, it makes sense that he has a slightly lower score. So I'm gonna give Leo probably a C, because I think he's good, but it's just some things that like didn't quite feel pushed as far as they could have been compared to the other characters. Wow, that's so cool, dude. What the fuck? So Anji here has this like great facial animation here. You zoom in and he actually has feel like slightly bolder lines, although I might be reading into that too much. But man, the face here is just so dynamic. You can kind of see like how much his face is actually changing. He's got like all this emotion here, right? Like look at that. He's got just like small eyes, casual. Suddenly he's like excited. Now he's like excited, serious. And then he's just like serious. God, that's so good. This guy, honestly, he's an A. He's an A because he's very, very good. And it's got that Sakuga style, but not quite as much of it as like Kai, for example. So he reminds me a lot of Mei. Like really, really solid, really great animation, great facial animation. Not enough visual interest in the rest of it to make it an S. Whoa. Her whole thing with her stance here, I feel like, is that her left thigh is exposed. So like this right here, such a great character moment where she exposes her left thigh in a really dramatic way. And man, are these arcs satisfying. Look right here. They're emphasizing it so well with the wind here. This is something that like we should really just pay attention to every time they add an effect here. It accentuates a really strong arc and they do it so well. There's so much character to this. I mean, look how heavy the cloth looks. It's at a point where when she pulls it, the corner doesn't even lift. This tip normally would be already like over here on like any other character, but no, they're just like, no, we're just gonna keep it like in place. We're just gonna stretch it, keep it in place as if it's not even moving. Now this thing weighs like 100 pounds. It's so heavy that she needs to lift the whole thing until eventually it yields. And this is just like a principle of like inertia, right? And they are leaning so heavily into that like when it finally lifts up and like feels weightless, oh dude, it's such a great payoff. And then here we have very, very good anticipation in this pose. Man, look how much the face changes in these poses. It's just so good. Oh, she only has one arm. The fact that she has one arm is great because if I watch this again with that context, they're really building some strong anticipation for the left arm to strike. And I was expecting the right arm to strike, so I was reading it a little differently. But knowing that she has one arm and it's her left hand, if you pay attention to this, she grabs it here kind of out of frame, and then the direction that which she's going and which the action lines are going, like right here, this is actually the direction that the sword is facing off screen. So if you actually were to draw the sword here, it would be like that. It's so subtle, but like that's why the anticipation feels so good, and it leads to her drawing the sword out this way. That's fascinating. All right, like, and are you an S? Honestly, yeah, I think you are. The arcs on this one are beautiful too. She's parented to camera, but Leo is not. So Leo actually moves with the background and she doesn't. That's such a cool attention to detail on like how they're doing this. She's the focus, and so therefore she's the only one who's actually like moving with the camera on these twos. That's so cool. This forced perspective is beautiful. And then the lines of action, if you pay attention, it's gonna go here and then it's just gonna wrap around really smoothly. Look at that, so gorgeous. And this guy of course wraps around from the other side. This wolf here comes in from here, really, really smooth, very satisfying arc. And she has the recycle sign on her face, and then she kills anybody who doesn't throw away their plastics in the right bin, which is understandable. Yeah, I just wish the payoff was a little bit better at the end, but honestly, it's a very, very solid overdrive. I think she's probably a C. I think she's really, really basic, but she's solid. Oh my god, that's so smooth. Look how much her head moves. She starts here, right here, and then like you go further a little bit. Where does she go? Way in the corner, all the way back here. Keep going. Where does she go? All the way over here. Her head is moving so much. This adds so much texture to her animation, which makes her feel like 2D animated. It's like this is not something that like 3D animators usually do. And then on top of that, you have like these beautiful mouth poses, which is fascinating. Like this is really interesting because they're adding shadows to the lips as they open them, and like having this really nice curvature here, which is like this strangely realistic kind of like mouth shape on an anime character. And look at the hand animation too. It forms a perfect frame around her face. So it starts out here, then it goes here, and then where does it go? Right here. Look, that's the path her hand takes. How gorgeous is that, dude? That kind of creative decision making, it's so worth it. I think she's an S. Holy Transformers. Dude, look at these carefully crafted poses for the enemy. Like, the fact that the enemy actually reacts in this way is so good. They do it in such a subtle way where a single frame will have this pose. The oh my god, help me, I'm gonna die pose. For one frame, guys. It works so well. Also, I just want to give a shout out to the effects here. These effects are absolutely gorgeous. They're so pretty. And they're pretty because they tail off. There's this beautiful, like, naturalistic kind of dissipation of the energy afterwards that shows like a really good knowledge of how smoke and fluid physics kind of works in real life. Man, that's cool. The only thing I have a small gripe with, I wish this had more animation. It's just frozen, and I kind of wish they did something special with this as well, because it would have added so much to it. That's the only thing. Otherwise, honestly, I'd put it in S, but I think right now it's an A. Bridget? Oh, that's cute. Again, with this amazing facial animation, every single pose is so dynamic. The arcs are gorgeous too. They come around her and all the way up. So they just form like this arc here, which builds up that tension. And then the teddy bear beats her up. She's adorable. You know why she's adorable? She has really, really thick eyelashes. Slightly thicker than most characters. And that makes all the difference. Along with, of course, the animation itself, which is gorgeous. Bridge is probably an A. She's really, really good. But again, she only does like a simple arc and then like a cute little thing. I'm not seeing a lot of creativity outside of that. That doesn't mean it's not solid as heck, but you gotta be fair. Is this what Japanese people think Americans look like? You're telling me that's not what Americans look like? No, it's fairly accurate. What I love is that like it's juxtaposed by like the most Japanese man. This is a wild angle. I just love this camera angle. It's so good. And he's what, carrying like a coffin made of bombs or some shit? Like I don't know what's going on here. But like he's holding it like a giant brass knuckle thing, which is insane. Breaks his glasses. Has veins on his face. Great attention to detail there. I actually don't know if I particularly like his line of action here because it misleads me a little bit. So this line of action is really good. He's like throwing a punch with his left hand. As you go forward, it's emphasized really well with this next pose here because it basically goes in a very similar direction. Now they've transformed the line of action to be slightly more vertical, and that's fine, but it's still in the same general direction. So this is going to come towards camera in a little bit. That's kind of the anticipatory signal that I'm getting here from this pose. But then he comes in and then suddenly he changes his line of action again. But notice this time he went down and then up this way. And because his face is so much further now to the right, that kind of implies that like we're not going to see his left hand anytime soon anymore. Like that's gone. Like his left hand is like gone. This is a great pose for like a right hand punch. So it's giving me mixed signals and I'm sort of like confused where it goes from like left hand to right hand, whatever. And I kind of wish it just kind of kept it consistent. You know what I mean? Because then it's a left hand punch after all. And I get like mixed up and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess we're going back to that. So I do kind of wish it was a little better. That first pose though is so good. This feels so good and so anticipatory. Such a great use of scale. I would have put him in B for that weird anticipatory flip, but I would put him in A because of that first pose. Whatever that was, that just looked 2D. So they increase the contrast in the shadows here because they're showing off like a really bright light. And that gives this really like manga style look to it. They're already doing this great Sakuga style animation that I talked about before, but man, does it look fantastic here. It just looks so good, dude. What the am I crazy? Does this not look better than the other ones for some reason? It's not even that impressive from like an animation standpoint. Like he's not doing that much, but like I just love this so much. It's not even an animation thing anymore at this point. Like that, I'm just giving compliments to the shader. I will say as a qualifier, his animation is actually not that good, but he's a very calm character, so it kind of fits him. I don't know, man. This guy's giving me like the heebie-jeebies. I'm putting him in SS. Whoa. So they're making use of a lot of these screen wipes, which is really cool. Like that's a cool transition right there. Let's take a look at his facial animation here, which is great. And it's like accentuated by the fact that you can only see like certain poses, which is great. I feel like he would need something like really exaggerated here for just one split second to show how excited he is to dig into this neck and then have it just go away in this frame. That would have been cool. Screen wipes again. Then right here, his face is fascinating here. He has such great shadows on his face here. Like I have no idea how they did this, honestly, because like the shadows on his lips here are really hard to achieve in like a consistent way. I assume they're doing it through textures of some sort. Absolutely beautiful. And then he has an extremely smug ass face. Like look at that shit. That's so good. So his facial animation is also getting the same kind of treatment. Oh, there's the happy chaos. There we go. That's what I wanted to see. I feel like Slayer isn't as good as the other ones we've seen so far. I actually kind of like the one from the previous game better. I want to kind of compare Strive and Xrd because I think like I remember seeing some of them and falling in love with them. So if you want to watch that one, maybe you can subscribe. He looks younger after the blood treatment. That's true. He does. That's a cool attention to detail. Slayer's probably an A. I think he's not quite good enough to be an S just because he doesn't move as much, but I love his facial expressions. Like it's really, really dynamic. This is it, guys. We're done. Let's take a look at which one is the best one. And obviously up here we have ABA as the absolute best one because I have no idea how they did it. ABA is the winner. Absolute monster of an overdrive animation. Literally breaks every understanding of how this is done in my head because I've never seen animation for goopy transformations that smooth. At least not in 3D and definitely not in a game engine. But speaking of games that have a really appealing anime style, Honkai Star Rail has had so many new characters added since we talked about it last year. So subscribe if you want to see me break down those incredible animations next, including Fei Xiao, their newest character. Or you can just watch our old Star Rail video if you just can't wait.